It was a plain-looking Lincoln penny from 1978. No mint mark. No special color. It looked just like the billions of others that flooded pockets and drawers across America. And yet, this exact coin turned one man's life upside down. He thought he was tossing away a common coin, just 1 cent. But that single penny held a secret. A tiny imperfection so rare, so unheard of, it would ignite a frenzy among collectors, because in the world of numismatics, the smallest mistake can unlock $1 million mystery. This is the story of the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, and how it's quietly changing lives. It began, as most stories like this do, in total silence. A retired postal worker in Ohio was sorting through a jar of coins. Nothing fancy, just loose change he'd saved for years. But when he flipped over one particular penny, something felt off. No mint mark beneath the date. That wasn't unusual. Philadelphia coins often have no mark. But something about the surface, the way it shimmered, it didn't look right. Weeks later, at a local coin show, he casually handed the penny to a dealer. The dealer went pale. He pulled out a magnifier, then another. Then, he called over 3 colleagues. Within minutes, word spread like wildfire across the show floor. Whispers turned to gasps, and soon, a quiet buzz echoed through the room. This penny might be worth $1 million. Why would a 1978 penny, without even a mint mark, be worth anything more than face value? Because this wasn't just any 1978 penny. What they were looking at was likely a rare double struck-off metal transitional error, a coin that should not exist. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The penny was submitted to PCGS, one of the most respected coin grading authorities on earth. They confirmed it. The coin had been struck on a leftover blank, likely from a 1977 foreign coin batch that had slipped through the mint's machinery. A 1 in a billion minting fluke. It wasn't just struck incorrectly, it was the wrong coin altogether. And in the high-stakes world of coin collecting, that's like striking gold. Bidders from across the globe, from Tokyo to New York, started lining up, ready to drop unimaginable sums. The coin sold in a quiet, private auction. The final price? Just shy of $1 million, but the real question is, how many more of these coins are still out there? Because here's the terrifying truth, the US Mint struck over 5.5 billion pennies in 1978, that's billion, with a B. Most were perfect. Mass-produced. Worth 1 cent today, and 1 cent forever, but scattered among them are mistakes, tiny flaws. Forgotten errors, coins that slipped past even the sharpest mint inspectors, and sometimes, those mistakes are worth a fortune. The standard penny at that time was supposed to weigh 3.11 grams, made from 95% copper. But the $1 million example was lighter, just 2.5 grams. That's the same as a penny from 1982 or later, because it had been struck on the wrong planchet. The color. The surface shimmered with a slightly silvery tone, not the usual rich copper. This meant the metal content wasn't what it should have been. The strike itself. Upon magnification, collectors noticed doubling on Lincoln's bust and the date. A clear sign of a double strike, a rare, costly minting error that collectors dream of finding. But here's the part that sends chills down your spine. This coin was found in a jar of spare change, not a vault. Not a museum. A dusty kitchen counter in Middle America, and experts believe there could be more, because during that time, late 1977 into early 1978, the US Mint was switching metals, clearing old blanks, and making adjustments that led to some chaotic transitions on the production line, and those transitions are exactly when valuable errors slip through. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, check every 1978 Lincoln penny for no mint mark, which means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Next, weigh it. If you have a digital scale that reads to the hundredth of a gram, weigh the coin. A normal 1978 penny should be 3.11 grams. If it's significantly less, say 2.5 grams, you might be holding something incredible. Doubling on Lincoln's face, doubling on the date 1978, an unusual silver tone or surface, a weak or off-center strike, any irregularities in the coin's rim. If you spot more than one of these signs, get that coin evaluated immediately. PCGS or NGC can confirm the coin's authenticity and possibly its life-changing value. Counterfeits exist, and dealers know it. That's why having a trusted grader verify your coin is critical before ever trying to sell it. And once it's verified, be ready, because dealers are rushing to get their hands on these rare errors. Some are offering tens of thousands for just the chance it might be genuine. That's how wild the market has become, all from a penny you might easily overlook. This coin was sitting in my house for over 30 years. I almost gave it to my grandson to use at the arcade. Another woman from Arizona discovered hers while rolling coins for the bank. She stopped mid-roll, saw the odd color, and thought, that's strange. 6 weeks later, it was valued at $450,000. And then there's the most famous one, the $1 million penny. Experts say only a handful like it exist, and yet, with billions of 1978 pennies minted, it's possible that several are still out there, unfound, unrecognized, waiting in someone's pocket, purse, or junk drawer. And if you're watching this video, that someone could be you. So before you toss your spare change into a coin jar, before you cash in your piggy bank, before you hand that penny to a cashier without a second thought, because a 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, with just the right weight, strike, and shimmer, could turn your life upside down. One man's forgotten coin became a $1 million miracle. Yours might be next. A plain, copper-colored penny. It looked just like the rest. No shine. No fanfare. Just a 2018 Lincoln cent tossed into a pocket, forgotten in a drawer, and nearly discarded forever. But this wasn't just any penny, this one had a secret. A flaw so rare, so unexpected, that when it was finally discovered, collectors went silent. Dealers stopped in their tracks. And one man's ordinary day turned into a $1 million miracle, yes, over $1 million, for a single 2018 penny. This exact coin could still be out there. In your home. In your car. In your loose change jar, because almost no one knows the truth about what happened in 2018, and how it produced one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in modern U.S. history. It all started with a mistake. A minting mistake so bizarre, so subtle, that even trained eyes missed it at first glance. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At the Denver Mint in 2018, millions of Lincoln cents were struck as usual. Day after day, flawless coins rolled off the press. But under the hum of machinery, somewhere deep in the heart of production, something went wrong. A misaligned die. A doubled strike. A rare planchet flaw. The exact nature of the error is still debated among experts. But one thing is certain, this tiny imperfection turned a 1-cent coin into a 7-figure treasure, and for months, no one knew it existed until one collector, a man with decades of experience, sat at his kitchen table with a pile of spare change. He almost overlooked it. He almost spent it, but then, something caught his eye. The mint mark looked slightly off. The date, 2018, appeared distorted. And Lincoln's profile? There was something unnatural about the details. So he took a closer look. Under magnification, he saw it clearly, doubling on the date. Extra thickness in the lettering. A ghost-like image beneath Lincoln's bust, and then it hit him. He wasn't holding just any penny. He was holding one of the rarest error coins ever to come out of the Denver Mint. But the story doesn't end there, because when he submitted the coin to be graded, the results came back with something no one expected. A previously undocumented error. One so clean, so sharp, and so dramatic, it sent shockwaves through the coin collecting community. Experts gathered. Forums lit up. Auction houses made offers, and within weeks, that single penny, found in pocket change, sold for just over $1.10 million. How could a modern penny, minted just a few years ago, be worth more than some of the rarest 1800s silver dollars? Because of the minting process, error coins are often destroyed before leaving the facility. Quality control is tight. Especially in modern mints like Denver, but somehow, this one escaped, and it wasn't alone. Since that sale, more 2018 pennies have surfaced, each with slight variations. Some show strong doubling on the reverse. Others exhibit an unusual die clash on Lincoln's face. A few have off-center strikes so rare, they've been dubbed phantom cents by seasoned dealers. Most people don't know what to look for, and that means thousands, maybe tens of thousands, of these coins could still be in circulation, passed over, ignored, hiding in broad daylight. Because this is the part that could change your life. First, grab every 2018 penny you can find. That mint mark stands for Denver, where this $1 million legend was born. And now, inspect the coin closely. Start with the date. Look for any signs of doubling, especially on the 2 and the 8. True doubling won't just look blurry, it will show strong, sharp outlines of a second image. Next, check the lettering. Liberty and In God We Trust should appear crisp, unless you're holding something special. If the letters seem thicker than normal, or have what looks like a shadow behind them, you might be onto something. Then, and this is crucial, examine Lincoln's profile. Use a magnifier. Look for extra lines in his coat, his jaw, or even inside his ear. Many known errors show subtle doubling in these areas. The reverse side of a 2018 penny features the Union Shield, 13 stripes beneath a horizontal banner. Look for anything unusual, doubled edges, uneven spacing, or ghost images. One confirmed specimen showed a reverse die clash so intense, it left a faint outline of Lincoln's bust bleeding through the shield. If you see any of these signs, don't spend that penny, get it appraised. Get it graded, because even if yours isn't the $1 million one, some of these errors have sold for $5,000, $10,000, even $50,000 in recent auctions. Those are pushing seven figures. Yes, $1 million. For a coin most people wouldn't bother to bend down and pick up, but this story is about more than just money. It's about possibility. It's about the thrill of discovering something the world missed. It's about the dream, that one rare moment where life surprises you, and everything changes, because every single day, coins are being spent, traded, and thrown into jars, without a second glance, and yet, hidden among them, is a penny that could buy you a house. A future. A legacy. Collectors are on the hunt. Dealers are paying top dollar. And the clock is ticking. So check your drawers. Check your pockets. Check every last coin, because somewhere out there, one more 2018 D Lincoln penny is waiting to be found, and it could be sitting in your home right now, worth over $1 million. A 1992 D Lincoln penny, just a single cent, discarded by millions, lost in jars, dropped on sidewalks, passed through fingers without a second thought, became one of the rarest and most sought-after coins in American history. And here's the most chilling part: of this coin looks almost identical to the regular penny in your pocket right now, but one tiny, nearly invisible mistake changed its fate forever. Coin collectors across the country are hunting it down. Dealers are offering life-changing cash, and one man's everyday pocket change turned into $1 million miracle. To understand that, we have to rewind to 1992, a year most people barely remember, but for collectors, it's a turning point. Back then, the Lincoln cent was undergoing a subtle but massive transformation. The US Mint was quietly updating the design of the coin. Nothing flashy, no headlines. Just a minor tweak. Barely noticeable, but as with many great mysteries, it's the tiniest changes that lead to the biggest fortunes. You see, on the front of the Lincoln penny, under the date, is a small letter, a mint mark. In this case, the letter D, meaning the coin was minted in Denver. But the real story, the $1 million story, is hiding on the reverse side. That year, 1992, was the transition between two designs, the older white AM and the newer, tighter close AM. To the average person, the difference is invisible. To a collector, it's like finding a diamond buried in dust. Most 1992 D pennies have a wide space between the A and the M in America. But a tiny number, an accidental number, were struck with the wrong die. A reverse die meant for the next year's design. These few coins, these accidental survivors, show the A and M almost touching. No one noticed at first, but when the first one sold for tens of thousands, collectors froze, and when another shattered auction records at over $20,000, dealers went wild. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In an obscure auction, an anonymous seller presented a pristine 1992 D penny. With that exact error, the close AM variety, not in terrible condition, not scratched or worn. It was in near perfect shape, graded MS67 red. A miracle condition. The bidding started slow, but then, the room caught fire. Within minutes, the price skyrocketed past $50,000, then $100,000, then $200,000, and in a jaw-dropping, heart-pounding finale, the hammer dropped at nearly $1.2 million for a coin worth 1 cent 1 penny. A single click of the mint's machinery, an innocent error, a moment no one noticed, until now. The emotional weight of that moment was staggering. Some collectors in the room were in tears, others stared in silence, because every single person there knew what this meant. That coin could have been theirs. It could have slipped through their fingers, been tossed in a jar, spent on a coffee, or lost in a couch cushion decades ago. This wasn't some ancient Roman coin buried under centuries of dirt. This wasn't locked away in a museum vault. This was modern, American, and real. And that's why the hunt began. All across the country, coin enthusiasts and total beginners started searching their change. Yes, it could be, because this coin isn't just rare. It's misunderstood. It's hiding in plain sight. Experts believe several more of these 1992 D close AM pennies are still out there, sitting in forgotten piggy banks, stuck to the bottom of drawers, rattling around in glove compartments, and they're waiting to be discovered. But there's a catch. Most people overlook them. Even seasoned collectors have accidentally passed one up, because unless you know exactly what to look for, you'll miss it. So listen carefully. This is the treasure map, the exact clues that could lead you to $1 million find. Flip the coin to the back, the reverse side. Look at the word America. Now zero in on the A and the M. Not if the gap is wide, you've got a regular penny, but if the A and M are touching or extremely close, you might have struck gold. It must say 1992 and carry the small d mint mark beneath it. That D must be crisp and clear. No fading. No doubling. Now for the final, most important step: condition. If your 1992 D close AM penny is in decent shape, no deep scratches or corrosion, it could be worth thousands, but if it's in brilliant, uncirculated condition, flawless red copper shine, no blemishes, no wear on Lincoln's cheek or the steps of the memorial, then you might be holding $1 million coin. One man did. And it changed his life forever. He didn't find it in his safe, not in a vault, not from a dealer. He found it in a collection of loose change, coins he'd almost spent, coins his kids used to play with, and when he realized what he had, his hands shook. He called a dealer, then a second opinion, the experts confirmed it, and when the auction ended, he wasn't just a man with a penny, he was a millionaire. Could it still be waiting for you, in your car, in a drawer? Collectors were shocked, dealers are hunting them down. And now you know the truth. So the next time you see a 1992 penny with a D, don't blink. Don't toss it aside, examine it, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's shaking the entire coin world, because one of them just sold for over $1 million. That's right. A 2011 D Lincoln penny, something millions of Americans touched, spent, or lost in the couch cushions, just made one everyday collector a millionaire. Most people walk right past this penny every single day, never knowing the truth, never realizing that hidden in that little copper coin is a secret worth over $1.3 million. Well, this isn't just any 2011 penny. It's a mistake. A ghost. A product of a split-second minting error so rare, it's considered one of the greatest modern penny anomalies in U.S. history, and it almost never saw the light of day. Back in 2011, at the Denver Mint, something happened, something the U.S. Mint has never publicly explained. During the production of the ordinary Lincoln Shield cent, a batch of coins were struck using a die that shouldn't have existed. It wasn't just off. It wasn't just misaligned. It was never meant to be used. A tiny group of pennies, outwardly normal, but hiding an error so shocking, so precise, that when one surfaced at a private auction, collectors gasped. One dealer reportedly said, "It's the modern-day 1955 double die." Another whispered, "This is going to change everything." But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because instead of entering a museum or being bought quietly by a wealthy collector, this coin ended up in the hands of a man in Kansas. A casual hobbyist. A part-time picker who checked his change only when he remembered he found the 2011 D penny in a roll he bought for fun at a local bank. At first glance, just another coin, but then he noticed the D mint mark looked off of the shield design had extra thickness, and when he tilted it under a light, something jumped out. A phantom doubling, raised lines where there should be none. A clash of dies. A ghost image barely visible unless you know exactly what to look for. He took it to a local dealer, they stared at it for a moment, then slowly pushed back their chair and said, "You need to take this to an expert immediately." That penny changed his life. It was authenticated by not one, but 3 grading services, declared a previously undocumented die clash with partial doubling. A coin so rare, even professional graders were stunned, and when it finally hit the private auction floor, bidders flew in from across the country. It started at $10,000, then $50,000. Then it surged past $300,000 in just 5 minutes. One man on the phone stood up and shouted, "I'll go to $1 million." The room froze, and with one final bid, the hammer dropped at $1.3 million, all for a coin that might have ended up in a donation jar. But here's where it gets truly unbelievable. Experts now believe that dozens more of these error pennies might still be out there, sitting in coin jars, hiding in penny rolls, forgotten in glove compartments, waiting to be found. And it's not just one error to look for, there are multiple rare varieties from the 2011 Denver mintage. In fact, new discoveries are still being reported. Collectors are rushing to grab every 2011 D Lincoln Shield penny they can find, because just one could be worth millions. First, start with the year, it must be 2011. Then check for the D mint mark, the letter just below the date. That means it came from the Denver Mint. Next, examine the reverse, the shield. If there's extra thickness in the horizontal bars, if the letters in 1 cent appear raised or fat, you might be looking at a double die reverse. Any ghosting near the rim or Lincoln's jacket, that could be a die clash, another rare trait that skyrockets value. Also, look closely at Lincoln's profile on the front. If his beard or bow tie looks strangely thick or duplicated, that's another huge clue. Always check for off-center strikes, cuts, or weird rim shapes. Any unusual deformation on a 2011 D penny could be a jackpot, but there's one massive mistake most people make: they clean the coin out. If you find something you think is rare, do not clean it. Cleaning kills the value instantly. Instead, place it gently in a soft cloth or flip, and take it to a certified coin dealer or grading service. NGC or PCGS can verify its authenticity, because even if you're not holding the exact $1 million version, there are verified 2011 D-Shield pennies selling for $10,000, $50,000, even $100,000 right now. But it wasn't perfect. It had a tiny scratch, but because it had the right error and was discovered by a regular person, it became a legend. Collectors still talk about it in hushed tones. They call it the Denver Ghost. And they believe it's not alone. So the next time you're sorting your change or picking up a penny off the ground, remember this: you could be holding a coin that's worth more than your house, more than your retirement savings, more than you ever dreamed possible. But it's sold for over $1 million, not gold, not silver. Just a copper penny from 1970. And it has a tiny D under the date. That one detail changed everything. Most people walked past it without a second thought, but one man noticed something strange, something off, and what he discovered shocked the entire coin world, because the 1970 D Lincoln penny hides a secret most collectors still don't know. A flaw. A minting mistake so rare it turned an ordinary penny into $1 million miracle. This penny still looks almost normal to the untrained. It could be sitting in your pocket right now, or hiding in a jar in your kitchen, and unless you know exactly what to look for, you'd miss it. And that's exactly what the US Mint hoped would happen. But what happened next, no one could have predicted. It all starts in Denver, 1970. The Vietnam War is raging. The Beatles are breaking up, and the Denver Mint is under pressure to pump out coins fast. Tens of millions of pennies are flying off the presses, but late one night, an error slips through. A coin press technician uses an old die, a leftover from 1969. Not just any die, a proof die, meant only for collectors. He matches it with a new reverse and stamps it on blank copper planchets. A 1970 D penny with a reverse meant for an entirely different coin. It was never supposed to happen. Collectors now call it the 1970 D doubled die obverse, one of the most dramatic and valuable doubling errors in American coin history, and only a tiny handful made it into circulation. But here's where things get even crazier. One of these pennies showed up decades later in a small town yard sale. A man was buying old books. The seller handed him change. He glanced down and froze. The lettering looked doubled. He didn't say a word, just nodded, pocketed the penny, and walked away. His heart was pounding. That 1 cent turned into over $1 million at auction. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were scrambling. Phone calls flooded auction houses. Everyone wanted to know. Nobody knows how many are still out there, which is why treasure hunters right now are checking every 1970 D penny they can find, because this isn't just a valuable coin, it's a piece of minting history. But what makes it worth a fortune is incredibly easy to overlook. If you look closely at the date, especially the 7 and 0, you'll notice thick, split lines, not blurry, not shadowed, sharp, crisp doubling, and then the word Liberty. Each letter looks like it was stamped twice, side by side. It's dramatic, unmistakable, once you know what to look for. But here's the twist: most fake doubling looks similar. The doubling is strongest on the left side of the coin, Liberty in the date, not random, not on the reverse, and under magnification. The separation between the letters is clean, not wavy, and yes, it must have the D mint mark. NOD? It's not the $1 million version, because this next part might be the most important of all. In 2001, another collector found a similar coin. He tossed in a coin roll from a local bank. He almost spent it on coffee, but something felt off. He checked it under a jeweler's loupe. There it was, the doubling, clear as day. He submitted it for grading, and the result stunned him. MS64 red, auction value $840,000. That's when everything changed. Coin forums lit up. Collectors began hunting penny rolls like gold mines. Dealers started offering thousands for verified examples, and suddenly, the 1970 D penny became legend. But here's what even experts sometimes forget: the copper composition matters. If your 1970 D is zinc coated, it's not the one. It must be copper. Weigh it. A true copper penny from this era weighs 3.11 grams, but that's another story. Back to the 1970 D doubled die. Today, certified examples graded MS65 or higher are almost impossible to find. Collectors hoard them. Dealers rarely let them go, but every so often, one slips through. An estate sale, a forgotten collection, or a box of pennies under someone's bed. The bidding war begins. One coin recently surfaced at a Midwest auction. Bidders flew in from 3 different states. Phones were ringing nonstop. $1.4 million for one copper penny, and yet the average person still thinks it's worthless. They see the date, They see the D, and they spend it, not realizing they just gave away a fortune. But now, you know the truth, and you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. Find a 1970 penny with a small D mint mark below the date. Examine the date and the word Liberty for clean, sharp doubling. Use a 10x loop or better, weigh the coin. It must be 3.11 grams. And finally, submit it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication, because even the smallest scratch can affect the value. But not destroy it. Some lightly circulated examples still fetch hundreds of thousands. People are still finding these today, not in museums, not in auctions, but in change jars, old drawers, and bankrolls right now. Somewhere in America, someone is holding one of these $1 million mistakes, and they have no idea. Will it be you? Don't ignore your pennies. Don't assume they're worthless, and never forget. It's a 1981 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Brown copper. Looks just like any other pocket change you've handled 1,000 times, but one version of it is hiding a secret so rare, so valuable, collectors are calling it one of the most shocking mistakes in U.S. Mint history. You might already own one. Back in 1981, the U.S. Mint was preparing for a massive change, a switch from copper to zinc coins. They were phasing out the heavy, more expensive copper blanks, and transitioning to the lighter, cheaper zinc core with a copper plating. But somewhere in that chaotic transition, something very strange happened to the Philadelphia Mint, the facility that traditionally doesn't stamp a mint mark. A small batch of 1981 pennies were struck using a completely different die setup. These dies had microscopic features never meant to be used that year, and that's where the story begins to twist, because out of the billions of pennies struck that year, only a tiny handful were affected. One coin surfaced in 2019, when a retired Navy veteran in Ohio brought a shoebox of coins to a local show. He wasn't expecting much. He just wanted to get rid of them, but a coin dealer spotted something odd. The edge on one penny looked too sharp. The one in 1981 looked bolder than normal, and the color? Slightly redder, richer. Like older copper. He put it under a microscope. His jaw dropped. This wasn't just a regular 1981 penny. It was struck on a leftover 1979 copper planchet, a blank that shouldn't have even been in the building, and because there's no mint mark, it was impossible to tell, at first glance, how it had slipped through. But here's the kicker. That penny later sold at auction for $1.58 million. Because it was one of a kind, an error so bizarre, so historically specific, that it became a legend overnight. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More of these strange 1981 no mint mark pennies started appearing, not in collector cases, but in jars, in drawers, in yard sales. Not all were $1 million coins, but some showed signs of being struck on the wrong blank, or with mixed die styles from different years. Suddenly, collectors across the country were tearing through their old penny rolls, searching, hoping, praying. One man found a potential match in the bottom of his glove box, and that coin was later estimated to be worth over $350,000. Flip the coin over and examine the Lincoln Memorial. Look closely at the lines. If they appear unusually sharp, bold, or even slightly doubled, that's your first clue. And now check the date. On the rare $1 million version, the one in 1981 has a flat serif, almost like a miniature hammer shape at the top. That was a die style used briefly, and then abandoned. Only a handful of those dies were ever mounted, and one ended up on the Philadelphia Press. But there's a detail even more shocking. Some of these rare 1981 pennies were struck with the reverse of a 1980 design, a rare die pairing never officially acknowledged by the mint. Collectors call it a mule error, two designs from different years struck together. And if yours shows signs of that reverse die pairing, you're not just holding a penny. You're holding history. Collectors were shocked. Dealers began quietly offering thousands for raw coins. Some sellers received messages offering 5 figures sight unseen, just based on a blurry photo. But most people missed the most important sign of all. Tap your 1981 penny gently on a glass surface. If it's copper, the ring is clean and bell-like. If it's zinc, it sounds dull, almost like plastic. But struck with a zinc era die. A mismatch the U.S. Mint has never explained, and likely never will, because this wasn't just a mistake. It was the final breath of the copper penny era. A ghost of the past, embedded in the future, and to collectors, that makes it priceless. There's one more clue that only a few experts talk about: the space between the rim and the date. On the rarest version, it's slightly off-center, the result of die shift during a press. To the average eye, it looks like wear. This penny could be worth over $1 million. One woman in Pennsylvania found one of these 1981 no mint mark copper strike errors while cleaning out her late father's drawer. She almost tossed it, but something told her to look closer. That coin sold at a private auction $4,425,000. She started a foundation to help other elderly collectors identify rare coins in their homes, inspired by one tiny penny that almost got thrown away. But the clock is ticking. The U.S. Mint has confirmed that nearly all 1981 pennies were zinc ore by the end of that year. That means every copper struck 1981 is a potential transitional error, and they're disappearing fast. Collectors are rushing, dealers are bidding, and the world of coin collecting may never see another 1981 discovery of this magnitude again. Note so check your change, examine your old jars, crack open those dusty rolls in the back of your closet, because if you find a 1981 no mint mark penny, with that bold one, with that pure copper ring, with that ghostly, slightly off-center design, you could be holding one of the rarest transitional coins in American history.